So in today's video, I'm going to be covering for you, the first thing I'm going to be covering here is the Dow Jones and why I believe the Dow Jones is getting ready for a final push, but I also believe it's going to be an actual false breakout before we see a bit of a pullback in the markets. I'm going to talk about the S&P 500 and one thing that I'm actually watching for right now, and I believe over the next month there's going to be a really good buying opportunity when it comes to the S&P 500. I'm also going to be covering the actual stock market long-term view. There's actually a lot of things that's happening on the real big long-term picture. I think sometimes we're focusing so much on the weekly charts, even the short-term or the weekly charts, even the daily charts. But when we step back and look at the last sort of maybe 20 years, there's actually a lot of different really amazing long-term trends that's forming right now when it comes to the good old stock market long-term view. I also want to talk about silver and why I believe silver right now is ready for a really big move to come, and it may be really kicking in over the next, say, week or two, and why I believe gold is getting ready for a new breakout coming real soon, and why, because see another really nice leg coming out on the gold market. I also want to cover the actual mining sector right now as well too. I believe that the mining sector is actually going to have a real big breakout coming soon, and why this is one of my main focuses right now when it comes to good trading opportunities. I'm going to share with you why I see that, the breakout, and so on and so forth. I also want to talk to you about the USO, oil, USO, and the energy sector, especially that big long-term, those big long-term monthly charts I want to share with you, especially the energy sector, because there's something really setting up that I believe that this is the silent calm before the storm. And I say silent because not many people are actually focusing on what I'm going to share with you here right now. I'm honing down on this because there could be a real good breakout coming soon as well too. And also what I cover with you in today's video is I want to cover the Ethereum market, but I also want to, in the Ethereum market, I want to teach you about a trading opportunity that actually, a really good trade that I did just recently. But I want to talk to you about the trading opportunity that I did. I saw it coming because it created a false breakdown, then into a V bottom, and then I saw a slingshot move coming. And I want to teach you that exact same pattern when it comes to the false breakdown into V bottom, into slingshot move, and why I took advantage of that, and also did me and my actual inner circle coaching clients did as well too. And it's been one of my most successful trades that I've taken in a long time. I'm going to share with you all the details about that, what I walked through there. And then to finish off with today's coaching video for you, this massive sort of weekend coaching video for you, I want to walk you through a simple but powerful trading pattern that when it appears, it has a high probability for an explosive, really big move. And I want to share with you exactly what that is, so you can start to look for it, whether you trade the intraday charts or the daily charts or anything like that. So anyway, traders, quick disclaimer, and then we're going to get straight into it. Don't place a trade based on what you'll see in this video, because there is no guarantees of making a profit in the market. It takes you a long time to become a good trader. So this video here is just to educate you to become a much better trader. Alrighty, traders. So if you'd like more help, guys, I'm actually giving away free access to my trading course, my full complete trading course, as you can see on the screen there right now. There's actually it's like a 7-day sequencing of really amazing videos walking you through. So if you do need some help, guys, then make sure you grab access to that as well too. So let's actually get into today's massive video for you. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Dow Jones. And on the absolute real short term on the Dow Jones, what we're seeing here is, as you can see, we're seeing that the market is going in different waves, right? So there's you can see that on the Dow Jones, we're going through a wave up through here, and then we're going through a wave sideways, and we're going through a wave up, and now we're going through a wave sideways. So because this is now going sideways, we're probably going to repeat this again when the market goes sideways, and we have a push to the upside and a new breakout. So looking at that level from there, we can actually see there's actually a resistance here and a resistance here. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see the Dow Jones actually sort of sideways through here. Now this is the short-term view, right? Sideways through here. And if I bring on, say, this chart here when it comes to, say, my 52 moving average, 52 really, as you can see, a lot of the times it sort of pulls back towards the 52, and then we push up. We pull back towards it, we push up. So if that's going to be the case, if we have a look at this level from here, and we start to sort of bring that up through there, we may be going sideways for maybe another week or two. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, maybe another week or two, and then we may get ready for another big breakout. from there as well too. But I believe that's going to be a sort of a final push in the markets. When I say final push, I mean final push for a short term, because if we start to look at, say, things like, if I bring up, say, this chart here, right, and this is the big long-term weekly charts, you'll notice that as we continue having this really big sort of move to the upside, the overall move on the weekly charts here on the Dow Jones, you can see it's been pretty vertical through up here. So if we do have another big breakout, this whole thing has been pretty vertical on the weekly chart here. And so to me, that's going to create a false breakout to the upside. And why I say false breakout is we're probably then going to have a nice, good 5 to 10% correction out of the markets from there. And then we're probably going to start to see this thing start to move to the upside. And as you can see, that's what markets do, right? They'll go up for a bit and then they'll come back down through here. They'll go up, and so you do get those pullback periods, or the market that goes through there. And one of the dangerous times to be trading, when it comes to even the way that I personally trade, is not getting involved with it after it's already made a move. If we do start to break up, yeah, we can get a little move to the upside, but we're probably going to end right there. So, and if we have a look at this back from the daily chart perspective, you can actually see there's also a bit of a trend line coming up through there as well too. So there may be something coming up through here where that may be through there. Again, if this trend line does hold and we do get a breakout, and if I bring up, say, this screenshot here, let me make those bars a bit thicker for you. So if we do have a look at this level from here to here, so if we do have a look at that from there to there, if we did get a breakout now, it probably will be a false breakout. And let me explain the reasons why. When I see these sort of sideways periods here, I see these sideways periods as fuel in the markets. Okay, so we have this move up. See how we actually had about a month here and we had a nice move up. We've only had a little sideways period from it. This is like the fuel in the markets. So if we do end up going through a nice big breakout through here, it's probably going to be very short-lived, because we actually have only a very short-term pullback, which is like fuel, right? This is like using energy, and we're building energy, using energy and building energy. And so if we did get a move to the upside, that's what we're probably going to see from there. I'm just seeing this from here. So I don't expect, like, if I'm just looking at this real big long-term picture, again, like, I'm just looking at this level from here. I don't expect, for me personally, once we get a move to the upside, I don't expect this thing to be a big drop, but we will get some sort of cooling off period for a week or two. And if we go down to, that's the Dow Jones. If I look at the Nasdaq as well too, you can see what's happening with the Nasdaq. Is more evident on what I was saying there, because it's already happened. Meaning, is if we look at this weekly chart, look how vertical that move has been from there. Big vertical move to the upside. And we're continuing right now. So if we go down to the daily charts, look how much we've been to the upside here. And this is a very dangerous territory. So I do believe, looking at the Nasdaq, the Dow Jones is probably going to go through a bit of a push to the upside as well too. So maybe they create that one little final push, and then we're probably going to get the pullback. But that's going to create a good buying opportunity. We see this here from the Nasdaq and even from the S&P 500. We've had a very nice move to the upside through here. And so we can see these indices and see where the Dow Jones is right now. We can see where the Nasdaq is right now. We also can see where the S&P 500 is right now as well. If we put these things in together here, I promised you at the start that I talked about the S&P 500, the greatest buy is coming soon. So what typically happens here in the markets is we go through these different swings here. And if I bring on the fear and greed index, because this is a real good barometer of what's likely to come. So as you can see, we're at this extreme greed right now. And right now we're still teetering here. So if we had another little push to the upside, right? If we had another little push to the upside, then we'll be able to see this thing will be really into the extreme greed. So what typically is going to happen is when we start to get when we go through this here, this is the short-term swings in the markets. So we go to the extreme greed, extreme fear, market tends to have a short-term bottom and we rally for a bit. Market gets up into the greed level, then we go through a bit of a drop. We get down here, we tend to find bottoms. We tend to find when the market's at extreme fear, we have that short-term bottoming. And then we rally for a few months, we get into the greed or the extreme greed, then the market's now too extended and the market drops a bit and so on and so forth, right? And all this and really at the sort of the bottom line is what happens with the stock market, right? Is all this is market goes up, we get too much greed, we end up having a bit of a drop. Then we have too much fear, market becomes fearful. That's a good buying opportunity. Then the market goes up through here. We go from extreme greed or extreme fear here. Then the market rallies up, goes up for a month or two. Then we start to get into the greed level, or even what we're seeing right now, whereas the extreme greed. And then the market sort of cools off a bit. The market has a bit of a drop, maybe a 10 to 15% drop. It comes down through to here. We then start to get into what's called the extreme, or getting into this level through here, which is now the extreme fear. People are worried. But then as you can see, what's happening through here, what typically happens is we have a low, we have a higher low, and we have a high low. And this now becomes a really good buying opportunity again. And then away we go again. And this is what happens with the fear and greed. This is why you want to see the fear and greed index for the short-term swings, not major topping patterns in markets where a 2008 style of crash. On the back of what I just said there about the 2008 crash, guys, just neutralize your journey about a crash coming, right? Whenever you see that in a title, even if I say that, remember a 2008 stock market crash was 2008 stock market crash. Think about that. That's 365 days. That's not 30 days, not 60 days, not 90 days, right? That was all of 2008, right? So when you talk crash in the markets, even if the market is going to be down 80%, it's going to take a good 1 year or more for that to happen. Makes sense? So don't be scared of a stock market crash. A lot of people are worried about the stock market crash. If we just neutralize the truth about what happens here. But the reason why I'm bringing this up here is because, one, I do see that the S&P 500, once it has a real good pullback, and we're probably going to get a 5 to 10% pullback. This is the daily charts here, right? And if we go have a look at, say, this is the weekly chart here, all this is going to be is, as I talked about just a minute ago, right now we're at the extreme greed, right? So people are greedy, and when people are greedy in the markets, right, it's time to be fearful. When people are fearful, time to be greedy. As you know, down the bottom here, when people were really fearful, when the fear and greed index was at extreme fear, that was the time to buy, right? Now it's the opposite. Now it's time to be cautious. And then guess what's going to come soon? Over the next, say, couple of months, we're probably likely to see a nice, good, I would say a 10% correction, nice, good 5 to 10% correction, which is probably going to be, all that is really is just a 50% retracement, maybe even more, right? It may even only just pull back to here, right? But that's still a good 8%. So this sort of, if I'm looking at it from a perspective of what's probably likely to come, because we're now at extreme greed, we're probably going to cool off a bit. Not a complete change in trend, right? All this is just, it's what's called making the trend. As I explained a minute ago, it makes the trend, right? So firstly, the reason why this is so powerful is, one, we do know when the market goes here for a while, we're probably likely to get the pullback, you know, and these drops in the markets, as you can see, a drop, while you may be focusing, and again, this is weekly charts, right? So that's a month worth of a drop and so on and so forth from there. As you can see that while we get a month worth of a drop on the downside, if you just look at, say, these weekly charts, you'll know all that is what? It's just making the trend, right? Because we have to drop to what? To create the higher low. Then the market goes up, comes back down, creates the higher low. So, and the unfortunate thing is through these periods through here, this is when you start to get, you know, the fear and greed index, right? And especially if we have a quite a big drop, right? It happened through here as well. I remember last year in 2024 when this happened through here, right? Low, higher low, as you can see, all that was doing was just making the trend, right? Because we all do know the trend is your friend until the end. With the markets going up, the market has to drop back a little bit, especially we've been going up for 2-3 months. We have to drop back for a few weeks to what? To create the higher low, and then away we go again. Create the higher low, and away we go again. And you can see that's all this was happening all through here from this big weekly chart perspective. Makes sense? So that's the reason why, I do believe that firstly, we've had a really big move to the upside. We're not going to just keep going up and up and up, right? We will get a bit of a pullback. And we just know that, right? You just look at how all these markets work. We do even a nice little 5 or 7% little correction before we continue up. We're probably likely to get that from there. And the reason why that's important is because guess what? This is the weekly chart here once again. And if we're looking at this from a weekly chart perspective, what's probably likely to happen here is we're probably likely to get that. I don't know if it's going to be now, but over the next couple of months, we're probably likely to see something like this going on, right? Nice little pullback. And this is the reason why I believe that the greatest buying opportunity is coming real soon. In a lot of the indices, I believe the Dow Jones is going to give us one more little final push. This may push this back to there and then get the correction. But if the market does pull back, guess what's going to happen down here? The same thing that happened down here and also down here, and that is a lot of fear is going to start to kick into the marketplace. The top's in, that's it, and there's going to be, and then the market and the sentiment is going to start to swing into negative territory, right? Because the market is responding to what has happened, and this is where to be intelligent about what's happening is firstly be able to see, okay, when the market does drop. If the market does drop through here, all it's doing is making the trend, right? It's going up. And that's actually quite a good thing. If you want this market to end up at, 7,000, 8,000 over the next 6 months, well then all we're doing, right, as you can see, we go up, we have a pullback. This is a weekly chart. We go up, we have a pullback. We go up, we have a pullback for a week. We go up, 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 up. We have, look, that's about a month with the pullback. You see what I'm saying here, right? So just get ready for it, because that's the reason why, I know what's coming. And so the thing is, I can keep an eye on it because there could be, I believe there's going to be a real good buying opportunity coming soon. And just remember that whenever we're looking at the markets, we want to look at it from a big picture perspective like this level through here. And we want to look at it from a perspective of what's really going on here. The market's going down, but remember, just because the market's going down doesn't mean the top's in, right? Because the market going down could just be what? Up. It going down, it's just making the trend, right? Because a trend is your friend until the end. A downward move has to happen to what? Form the higher low, and away we go again. Higher lows, upward trend. We know that, right? But the market has to drop to make the trend. So this is where you don't want to be fearful about it, right? When the market comes down here for a month or more, then you're probably going to get the fear, the tops in, the recession, the talkings, the news and sentiment, and that's likely to come out of the markets. Why is the market dropping for? Okay, just remember the market has to drop to then neutralize things, to refuel, and that's the reason why we do have the way the market swings. Now I actually have a target of 7,500 by the end of this year. So I do see the way that I see this thing playing out in quarter 3. I see this thing coming through here. In quarter 4, I see an extraordinary quality move. So there could be a real good buying opportunity coming when it comes to the overall S&P 500. Makes sense there? So one of the things that I really want to also share with you is we look at the weekly charts here. And I think sometimes we can get really stuck on the weekly charts, and sometimes even just focusing on the daily charts, right? Especially if we're focusing on the last 3 months, even the last month, and we're focusing here, and yes, you may be looking at, say, candlesticks with moving averages, right? So this is a candlestick with all moving averages. You may be looking at that. One of the things that sort of helps me understand of what's going on right now, where are we at, what's happening here, is to look at the forest from the trees. And what do I mean by that? If I go back to the Dow Jones from here, and I look at this chart here, this is a logarithmic chart. And as you can see that every single time we've had these scares in the marketplace, all it's done is what? It's just made the trend. Because remember what I said just a minute ago, right? The market has to go down. If we're in a very big bull market, it has to go down more to make the trend, to form the high low, and then away we go, and then come down to form the high low. And that's where like you never want to get emotional about the market going down, because all it could just be doing is setting up, just like the tariffs were, for another good buying opportunity, right? And if you look at this as the logarithmic chart here, and as you can see where this is typically what the cycles is going to be here, right? Now it may play out like this. We may have another 3-4 years to go to 2030, right? Or to 2030, 4 years to 2030. Actually, that's 5 years to 2030, right? So roughly around that level there. We're 12 years in, right? We've got another, say, 4 years to go. So that's roughly what we're seeing through there. But if we have a look at this here from a big long-term perspective, is if again, this is the chart here, but if I take everything off the chart now, look what, actually, I'll bring this everything. Look what happened through here. This is the monthly charts. Notice the monthly charts here. Notice these big long-term monthly charts. Now this is a logarithmic chart. Notice what happens. We go through these very big sort of periods of what? In the very big bull market like we're in right now, the 52 moving average on this monthly chart, logarithmic chart, you can see the market goes up, and it's not until the market sort of flattens out that we go through a multi-year sideways. Flattens out, multi-year sideways. But if the market is continuing to make higher lows in the marketplace, and also the moving average is trending up, even if the market does give you this here, which was that was 1987, right? You probably heard about the 1987 stock market crash. All that was that there. Now, if you look at it in a context of this here, what was that? That was just what? The market goes up, we had the stock market crash, it formed the higher low, and then away we go. Then it flattened out. So as you can see here, what's happening here now is what? One, we're forming these higher lows, and it's interesting, isn't it? This level through here, like if I just bring this up through to here, actually, you know what? Let me show you this level here, right? So if I zoom right in now, let me zoom right into this big, this here is when Trump was being elected, you know, that's it, the crash is coming. This was the COVID crash. But what was this? Low, higher low. What was the moving average doing? Still trending up, right? And then the recession fears back in 23. Remember that, right? And this is now COVID. Oh, sorry, this is the tariff here. So as you can see that, I think sometimes, or one of the best things that I try to do myself is not being emotional reactive and say, okay, what's really going on here? And the reason why is because, as you can see from just looking at this level here, there's been some amazing buying opportunities in the last 10 years. From this level here, and this is one of the reasons why whenever we do see that next 10% drop in the market and the fear starts to come out, just keep an eye on this. Remember this chart here, because if I take everything off the screen again, remember where we're at, right? We're at this level from here, and so I actually have a target of around that 55,000 level on the Dow Jones. And so if I look at the same sort of logarithm, as you can see, the scaling on these charts here has been logarithmic, as you can see from there, right? So this is logarithmic here. So this is looking at the longer term charts from here. So if I do the same thing for the Nasdaq, and this is the actual Nasdaq here, look at the same thing for the Nasdaq. Every time we've had these drops here, and it's really interesting, isn't it? It's one thing I've learned over the last 20 years of my trading career. And especially that video number 2 in the free trading course, guys, that link in the description there. I will talk a lot about this sort of the way these markets work when it comes to trend, how the trend is formed. And so we can just understand, and one of the big things, as I've been talking about in today's video, is about, you know, when the market does go down, that doesn't mean that the market is topping. It just means a lot of the times, it could just mean the market's now creating that higher low because it's now forming the trend. We have a pullback, we have a bit of profit taking, we have a bit of a cooling off period, and then we get going again, right? And even these big long-term Nasdaq chart, look at this Nasdaq chart. Nasdaq long-term charts. Firstly, we have this trend line coming up through here, but look at this here. Every single time, lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. See, even though we actually had this multi or this 1 year drop through there, what was the long-term monthly charts doing, right? It was what? It was going up and came down to create the higher low, and up and came down and create the higher low, up and create higher low, up, create the higher low. So as you can see, we're still in a very big bull market, right? So if we did get that, which is a 10% correction, is the top in? Well, if I'm looking at my long-term analysis, I'm taking it off the screen, what's the moving average still doing? Still going up, right? And are we still creating major higher lows? We are, aren't we? And so as long as now, when it comes to that level here, if the market continues to make higher lows, that's just a nice healthy bull market. That's what a nice healthy bull market is about. Market will go up, it'll come down, make the higher low. It'll come up, make the higher low, come up, make the higher low, come up, make the higher low. It would start to do that. So as long as we continue to make these higher lows, the market is in a very strong bull market at that time. The sign that the bull market is over is if we get one of these, if we get the previous low broken. So if the market does roll over and it does pull back, is it going to be a higher low? But then it starts to come back down to here, and we break that low. So now, as you can see, this is now what? A lower low, isn't it? It's no longer making higher lows. This will be the sign to watch out for, because then we're probably likely to rally, make a lower high, and then we're likely to see, a significant pullback in the markets. If you look at the last big crash, which was the '08 crash, right? I'm just looking at this level from here. I'm just trying to show you this here, so you can sort of not be sort of freaked out by the swings of these markets. Low, higher low, higher low, and higher low, right? Well, look what happened here. Notice right there, the market changed tune, right? And then we had the 2008 crash from there. So if we look at the Nasdaq, if we look at the composite as well too, this is now the composite Nasdaq. And as you can see, if I just bring up my charts here, this is actually a very beautiful long-term, very big long-term monthly chart. And as you can see, like one of the things that I've learned about is that, and you probably heard many times from people like Adam Koo and so on and so forth, that there's a lot of noise in the markets. One thing that I really started to learn from Patrick Bet-David from Valuetainment, right? Is it noise or is it signal? Signal is like, what's the truth about these markets? And noise is, that's it, top 10 stock market crash, we're going to the moon, that's it, and all this sort of stuff, right? That's just noise, isn't it? Like, because there's a lot of noise. And typically, the noise will follow the market, meaning when the market's down 15%, the noise is going to be what? Stock market tops in, that's it, the big recession coming, that's it, the market's all over, that's, and then the fear and the emotion of the major public can go down the noise side of things. But the signal is the smart investors just look at a big long-term chart like this here and they're like, well, okay, we had a low, we had a higher low from here, right? The market ran up, we actually pulled back, then we made another high low, the market pulled back, came down here, and now we found support. Now, there's actually nothing wrong with this big bull market right now. We're still continuing this very secular big bull market ever since the '08 period from there. Make sense? And we've continued to make these high lows. Now, I'm looking at a monthly chart here, by the way. So periods like this here, we may get 1 year of pullback, but that 1 year pullback was just what? And it's so fascinating, isn't it? We went up for about 2 years through here. 2 years of up. So then all the market was doing is what? The market pulled back through here just to cool off, just to create what? The next higher low. And then we had a big move for a couple of years. And then we had a sharp drop down to here. X marks the spot when it comes to this support line through here, plus also this level through here. And then away we go. So if the Nasdaq gets a little bit of a pullback through here, don't be sort of, you don't want to be getting sort of reactive, because as I sort of mentioned at the start of this video, that there could be a real good buying opportunity coming soon. And that's what I'm looking for from there, because I'm keeping an eye on these big long-term charts. And this is signal. Signal is, what's the truth about this level here? Is the top really in? But then the noise could be, let's insert something that we think is going to create the top in the market. Or we could just say, you know what? This is probably going to continue. So therefore, there's going to be a good buying opportunity in the market. And so it's always the hardest thing, isn't it? Like even just looking at the, looking at the markets, even from the S&P 500. Like this is the S&P 500, right? It's very, very hard to buy it when the noise is what? we saw what happened down the, what was the noise down the bottom here? The noise was, we know the noise, right? Extreme fear, that's it. Trump's going to crash the market. That's it. You know, that's the noise, isn't it? But signal is what? Signal to me is, we're actually one in a very big bull market from here. Okay. We also actually had, so look at this here. See that? We also actually had more like an X marks the spot, didn't we? We had this resistance back here, became support, and then we rallied out. So if I'm looking at this bit, once again, if I take everything off the screen now, and I look at this from a big long-term monthly charts, is this another 2008 stock market crash? Is it another one of those? Well, if I look at this market here, you can see here that we actually had this very big move up. We had a low point, a higher low, and then we also had this form high low. But it's when we started to break these lows from here, that's when we started to get, you know, what's going on there. But we're not getting that right now, are we? We're actually getting major markets making lows, higher lows, and the moving average is still trending up. Notice the moving average even started to flatten out through here. But if I go to the moving average now, what's actually the moving average doing? The moving average is still very strong, right? So this is where, like, I believe we have a lot more upside to come when it comes to this level here. And this is where the noise of this market can be so deafening sometimes. And that's why I always try to find it just, the best trade is the contrarian traders, right? We know that. So the best traders have been buying these major dips and then holding them for a couple of years and then letting them rip. Big higher lows through here. So next time we do, where the market is right now, if I go and let me bring up this chart here, and this is the monthly chart here, right? So if the market does have a 10% correction, let's say the market does drop 10%, that's going to be down there, right? That's going to be from there. Let's say the S&P drops 10%, maybe even a little bit more. Where's the trend still? The trend's still up, right? What's the noise going to be at that time? The noise is going to be what? The noise at that time is going to be, you know, it's going to get you more veered towards the emotions of, that's it, the top is really in, and so on and so forth. But if you've been trading the markets, I would say for 5 years plus, you would know that how many times has that noise become reality, or the noise to become an actual real signal. Most of the time it's not, right? In fact, every single time in the last 5 years, in 10 years, every time we've had that noise, markets down 10%, we get the noise, fear, extreme fear, that's it. The public, the talking heads, the thumbnails, the YouTubes, okay, the noise is going to say that. But what's the signal? The signal is up, came higher low, higher low, higher low. Here, we're probably going to form a higher low, and then we're going to get a real big move to the upside. So that's why I truly believe that we're looking at the stock market and looking at these big long-term charts, that, and just do this for any market out there, right? Step back from the big long-term picture. And this is where, like, sometimes I do like to look at, say, candlestick charts like this here with a lot of moving averages and all that sort of stuff. But there's also a lot of stuff going on here, right? So if I'm just trying to see what's the real big long-term trend here, and what is the truth here, so I can actually make good decisions, so I can make money. And if I can start to bring on, say, something like even just we're at the black open highlight close chart, I'm just looking at the highs and lows, even maybe just putting on one moving average to see what's going on here, I can get a very, very clear. So if we do get, once again, if we do get that through there, is that really the top in the market? Not really, right? It's actually, no, there's a 90% probability that this is going, and I always say, you never know exactly when, right? But the next drop that's coming up the next few months is probably going to introduce a lot of noise around, insert crash and so on and so forth. But the signal to me is just another one of these, 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 you know, and another one of these through there. Make sense? So get ready, because there could be a good buying opportunity, and then that could be a real good, even just a nice good trade for a good 3-4 months riding into the end of the year, because I do believe quarter 4 is going to be really, really, really amazing from there. So what I also promised you at the start of this video here was about the silver market and the gold market. And silver getting ready for a big move. Let me show you this here. So if I bring up, let me bring on, say, this is a monthly chart here. Let me actually go to the silver price here. Okay, so this is the silver price. Let me actually go to, is it going to do it for me? There we go. All right. So this is the silver price. And if I bring this level up through to here, this is a weekly chart on silver right now. And one of the things, if we go back and have a look at what these markets are doing, one thing I'm noticing here when it comes to the silver price is if I take everything off the screen here for a minute, you'll notice that there's been a lot of things here, right? So firstly, we're starting to get, as you can see, we're definitely starting to get a lot of momentum to the upside. We did have a period of low through here at a silver, low and low, and we came down through here, right? And then we squeezed and then we popped back up again. And then now, even though we've had a lot of volatility, look what's been going on here, right? So if I bring this up to here, we've been really, so that's that point through there, isn't it? So that may be through there, right? That may be also, if we have a look at maybe an extension, like we may get something like that going on, right? There could be something like that. That could be the previous high, as you can see with my little doobie lucky through there, right? So we can have that point through there, that and there through there, as you can see. So nice, beautiful up move. So we definitely, the thing with silver is, as you can see, what I'm doing here is a lot of the times, and even for myself, sometimes I can make the mistake of looking at, well, what's today's candle? That's good for trading, right? Candle. But if we're trying to capture a big move, one, that's going to take a bit of time, right? That's going to take a month, 2 months, 3 months. If we look, even for a trading opportunity. But even if you're a bit of a longer term investor out of silver, let's bring it back to the weekly charts. Let's squeeze it up a little bit more. Let's see what's going on here. So what's going on here? Firstly, we can see we actually had a bit of a squeezing up pattern, didn't we? Bit of a squeezing up pattern, and as you can see, let me try that again because it seems like it's just going cuckoo on me. So that's that level through there to there, as you can see. And let's actually do this here. Right, let's actually do this here. There we go. Right. So one thing I want to do is I just want to extend this out here. And then what I want to do is I want to extend this out up to there. So this is where maybe, okay, it may be something through there, right? There may be a level of, okay, we could be running up towards this level up here, okay? So that's that level through there. Let's go back to, let me make this a bit more thicker there. Okay, cool. You see my trend lines? I wonder what that happens for. Let's go back to daily charts, weekly charts. It's doing it again on me. I don't know. All right, let's do it again, all right? As you can see, that's that level from there, okay? So, but now looking at that level from here, you can see we actually had a lot of resistance back through here. So that 35 level was a pretty significant level of resistance, right? We did have this sort of pointing, this sort of compression through here, as you can see. Sort of a compression period. And if I actually just blow this chart up a little bit, well, there we go. So if I blow this chart up a little bit more and zoom this in, you can see we actually had sort of compression here. And this sort of back here in 2011, 2012, 2013, we actually had a lot of resistance back here, didn't we? A lot of resistance all back through here. And one of the things we can see here, right, is we had this resistance through here and a resistance all through here as well too. And now we're breaking up. So the next likelihood of where silver is going is, I would say, the next major resistance is up through there on that target. If I bring on the SILv price, which gives me a bit more data, you can actually see from the SILv price, we're still holding above this level from here. Right? We did actually get the nice little movement from there. If I look at it from this perspective here, we just broke above this resistance level here, and we're at that level there. So if we can continue to hold here, we're probably going to have a big move up towards that level. That's that next support level up through there. So around that 42 level. So that's that daily chart. And also we can see what? Also we can see that the market is starting to really do something like that. See how it's really sort of, we're still in a very big bull market here. We've been starting to develop a very strong low, higher low, higher low, same low, but didn't break it, and now we're breaking up, and now we're holding through here. And so if I go to the actual daily charts now, so this is the daily chart here. Look what's happening now on the daily chart. We're just holding here. So as long as SLV can actually hold here, there's actually a big probability that this holding pattern here, as long as it can hold, if we do start to break up above, say, this previous high back up here, then we're probably going to make it's probably going to be a really big move to come out of this SLV price, as you can see from that point there to that point there. All right, so this point here, and then that's that point there. And if I go back once again, if I go back to the weekly chart, just remember that's that point up through there, right? We did break it here. So that's where I believe that silver is getting ready for a really big move to come, to start to see some really big. And notice my trend lines always go bang on me like that. I wonder why that is. Right, so we can see that through there when it comes to the silver price. Now, the thing about the gold price though, by looking at gold here, is gold for me is continuing a very similar pattern all the way up, right? And as you can see here, I've got these boxes and arrows. And I like to use this, whenever I see this here, it's a beautiful energy using and energy building phases. And what I mean by that is this. We're looking at a weekly chart, right? It goes up through here, there's energy using, market is actually going. And then we get these sideways for about 3 months. That's just building the energy to then use the energy to make it go up. And then we go through a building energy phase, which the market goes sideways, we're building energy. And then the market has a big breakout, right? Using energy, then we're building energy, and then now we're using energy. And now look what's happening. We're going through another building energy phase. So because we're doing another one of those, which is another building energy phase in the markets, we can actually see that it's just holding here, which is quite awesome. Now, the reason why I say that is this, is that we can see that we're seeing these levels from here. What's probably likely going to happen real soon is if I take everything off the screen, notice what the market does. It'll pull back towards my 24 and bounce. Pull back almost to the 24, bounce, pull back to 24 and bounce. We're going through here. So if I bring back everything back off the screen now, you can actually see that there's actually a good probability now we're just doing another one of these. And when we do break this high, it's probably going to have a nice move up when it comes to gold here. And we're probably going to have a nice move back up to level 3 there. If we go back and if I show you this chart here, right, you can actually see how the market is doing. You see that? It's just holding on to it, isn't it? Let me take it off the screen there. So as you can see here, right, the market is what? The market just continued to do that, isn't it? So up, sideways, up, sideways, up, sideways, up, sideways. So if we do start to get a nice break above this level from here, I believe we may have maybe another month with a sideways movement. But if we do get that, it continues holding sideways and we get a break up above through here, then we're probably likely to see a nice move up when it comes to the actual gold price from there. So now what I want to do is I want to focus on the mining sector here. So if we have a look at the GDX here, this is the GDX right now. And one thing you can see here, this is like the 5 years of this daily chart. And you can definitely see how we were part of this sort of it had this major resistance point through here. You see that through there? So it really did nothing, right? As you can see, it really did nothing from this sort of point through here. Had this major resistance point up through here and major resistance point up through there as well too. And so it really did nothing for all this time. And now we're just starting to finally break out. And you can see how we're just starting to accelerate a lot more. We were just not sure, but now we're starting to accelerate and we're getting a little pullback. But what's still happening here now? We're actually, it's a very nice strong trend, right? We're starting to get that sort of, the higher lows, the higher lows, the higher lows. And as you can see, what's happening here. So I believe the GDX is getting ready for a big breakout soon. We have paused through here on the 54. And if I bring up, say, let me bring on this chart here, which is the weekly charts. The reason why it's paused there is because, as you can see from this big long-term chart, that was that major resistance point back through there. Right, see that major resistance point back through there? Let me take you off the screen. That's that major resistance point there, and we had this little pullback. So there's a, for me, I'm really honing down on the mining sector because I believe there's going to be some really big moves to come. And that's where I personally like to focus on things that's likely to make a really big move. And that's where, when it comes to me and my inner circle group, or even my 1% group who's with me every day for at least an hour or two when going through these markets and so on and so forth, I really am trading, but I'm also coaching them to focus on opportunities to help them look for opportunities that's actually likely to make a big move. If you'd like to join that, guys, it's application only. There's that second link in the description there. If you go to getjohnshelp.com, and you can apply for that, and then you actually be personally speaking to me. If you want to be part of the inner circle or what's called my 1% club, where you're with me every day for at least a few hours, so I can coach you and guide you around the opportunities and so on and so forth. So getjohnshelp.com, that's an application form. Fill that out, and I'll be personally speaking to you to see if you're a good fit, to see if you're a good fit for the inner circle or what's called my 1% club from there. Just actually, yeah, it's amazing. So looking at through that through there, if I bring on this chart here now, actually let me bring on this chart here, a blank chart, and as you can see that we're getting this very big pullback through here, right? So if we do get a breakout, actually let's bring on this chart here, right? So if I bring on this chart here and if we continue making this sideways movement, which we're pausing through here, so there's a high probability we're going to start to pick back up and break above. Once we break this level from here, we're probably getting ready for a good 20 or 30% move out of the GDX. So that's the GDX. If we have a look at the GDXJ, now the GDXJ is even more powerful. Why? Because if I go to the weekly chart once again, this is the weekly chart, candlestick chart. Look what's happening now. We did nothing for 5 years, and now we're starting to what? Now we're starting to build a lot of momentum through here, right? We're still starting to build a lot of strength through here, and now we're holding through here. Where the GDX did what? The GDX is actually, it ran up and then it's having a bit of a pause here at the high. This actually broke up above the high, and now we're holding here. Very, very, very powerful on the GDX from there. Very powerful. And so if we go down to now the daily charts, right? If we go down to the, let's have a look at that through there. Yeah, this is the daily charts here. You can see we're actually just pausing through here. Right, pausing through there, got all the moving averages coming up as well too. So we've got a lot of momentum starting to pick up through here with the 52 here. I've got my longer term moving average through here as well. So if the market does hold here and we start to pick back up through here, I believe the GDX could start to see some significant moves. And then the next resistance level, if I go back to that weekly chart, the next resistance level on the GDXJ is up around that $100 mark. So that's where we're probably going to start to see a nice move up. So the mining sector, so that's the GDX from there. If I go look at the SILj, the SILj on a big picture analysis here is right at this level from here. As you can see, it came up this level and it just bounced off this level, and now we're getting a bit of a pullback. If we go check out the actual market from here, you can see what's happening. We're right at this level here, and we're just sort of holding it through here. So probably what's going to happen, as you can see from this big long-term chart, we're definitely starting to increase in momentum from here. Okay, we're starting to increase, meaning we really aren't doing much, but look what's happening now. We're starting to really increase. So probably what's going to happen here is we're probably going to hold here for a little bit longer. And then when we do get that, and then we get the breakout like something like that, when that happens, that's probably going to be the trigger to start to see a really big move to come out of the SILj market from there. And then also, if we go have a look at the SILj market, sort of similar sort of pattern here, right? We're at this major resistance level through here. And we're getting a bit of a pausing pattern right now. So if we look at the pausing pattern through here, we can see that we're at this level from here. And if we can see this from a big picture perspective, if the market does break up, the SILj GDXJ has maybe around, what's that, maybe 20% move, maybe towards the next high point through there, right? And I'm just trying to see from that level from there to there, as you can see. So we may get to that level from there. That's that next major resistance level. But if we go to the SIL, you can see how the SIL looks like it actually has, what's that? There's actually a lot more room on the actual SIL than there is on the SILJ until its next major resistance level. So we're on the verge of something pretty big, I believe, out of the silver right now, and also the silver market as well too. Now, one thing I also really want to sort of focus on right now as well too is the oil market, and then also like USO, the energy sector. I want to share something with you here. So what's happened here is we've actually had a really big breakdown from here, haven't we? Right? We actually had a lot of support through here, and we had a very strong breakdown. And this is what's called, a bit of a V bottom. So it came back up, it came rallying right back up to that resistance level, and now we're pushed back to the downside. So the oil market right now is either coiling or going through this gyration phase, depending on what happens through here. So if we go back to the daily charts, this is now the daily chart as well too. And we're sort of just holding here, aren't we? And then this is that level all through there. You can see it's still having a lot of problems through here. So it depends on what sort of happens through here on the oil market. If we have a look at this here, depends on what happens. If we do hold here and we start to get breaking above, if we can start to get above the 80 level, then that's probably going to start to see a nice move back up towards the 100 level, maybe even a bit higher from there. So this here is what's called a bit of a false breakdown. So false breakdown, a bit of a move up, and now we're just holding through here. So the oil market, and either way, like there could be a really big move here. And this reminds me a lot of the platinum market from here. If I go back to the platinum market here, the platinum market, this is the platinum market here. Is it going to load it for me? Notice the platinum market here, but also what happened with this level here, right? We actually had this, notice how we actually had this sort of decompressing down through here. It's not the exact same, but look at this here, held, and as soon as we broke back above it through there, it was more like, as you can see here, right? It was more like, if I take that off the screen, now you can see how it was compressing on the downside. We're holding. We didn't break down, we actually broke up, and then it created a very, very strong move to the upside when it comes to the platinum market. And so if I look at that through there, and I show you, say, for example, USO, if I show you USO from here, this USO market right now is, as you can see, it's just been doing really nothing from here, right? Really nothing. Just, it's been, if you've been investing in the USO right now, it's been one of those like hurry up and wait type things. But there could be a real big opportunity coming real soon if we could start to get a big breakout soon. Either way, like I'm not sure where the breakout's going to be. And for me, I don't really care about that. I'm just waiting for that next big breakout, right? And so we can see this here from oil going through here. If we do start to break up from here, which means oil is starting to break out, get ready for a real big opportunity. That could be from a trading perspective. There could be a real big opportunity, and then that could actually start to see, man, we could be getting ready for, especially on this USO chart, due to the fact that we've done nothing through here, through, what's that, 1, 2, 3, and 4 years of nothing. Yeah, it's probably not much going on from there. And one of the other things I really want to sort of show you here is, check this out from a monthly perspective, right? This is a monthly chart on XLE. This looks like a very big bull flag, like very, very, very big bull flag formation. On the big monthly charts, we had this move up, and we've just been going sideways, haven't we? So once again, like this is setting up that whenever we do get these real long extended period of sideways movement, we end up having nice big drops or nice big booms, depending on where it moves. So if we do hold here on this XLE, and then we start to hold here and we get a big breakout, we could be getting ready for an astronomical, really big move soon as well too. So the energy sector there's actually a lot of different markets out there right now, right? Silver, gold, the mining sector. But if we have a look at the energy sector for me is like, see how we're just holding here. This is like the calm before the storm. You know, when it comes to the energy sector, when it comes to USO. So two big markets that when it does break, we're probably like to see a really big move, are those different markets. And so it might take another few months for that to set up, but if we can keep an eye on that, that could be a good trading opportunity, especially when utilizing things like leverage and options and so on and so forth. That could be quite amazing from there as well too. So what I want to do right now is I want to teach you what's called the false breakdown, which causes a V bottom, and which then causes what's called a slingshot move. I want to teach you this over here because it happens a lot of the times, and it actually happened recently on Ethereum. And as you know, Ethereum has actually just made an astronomical move from here. I personally did trade this as well too. So did my 1% group. We all took this as well too. So as you can see, look at this here. So I really want to share this with you here to walk you through this pattern because I think it's quite powerful. So there's 3 stages to this setting up here. The first stage is what's called the false breakdown. So if I go back, if I bring up this level from here, if I bring up this weekly chart here, right, this is the weekly chart. What typically happens with the false breakdown pattern is this. We typically have a lot of major support levels, as you can see. So we have a support, and it breaks down past support. Now, if this is a true breakout when it comes to Ethereum, if this is a true breakout, guess what? We're likely to rally, hold, and then continue down, right? Because then the support then becomes resistance, and then the market drops. But look what happened. What happened? It didn't do that, did it? And the reason why this is a false breakdown is because look what happened. We came down, we rallied all the way back up, we came back here and then found support. So this is more like a V bottom action, as you can see. And then we came down to find support. So it's a false breakdown, but it created like a bit of a V bottom back into that level from there. And then, so that's that first level there, right? We create a bit of a V bottom from here. It's a beautiful, beautiful pattern. But then what happens here? Okay, this is where it gets really, really, really awesome from here. So we have, this is the daily charts now. So we have the overall move down. We have the overall move up. But this is where it gets really key. This is the big key here, okay? The big key here is that it goes up, but then we just hold here for a bit. See how we just hold? We don't get any strong selling period from here. So due to the fact that it's holding from here, I call this like the slingshot move. Because the slingshot move is, one, we actually get this false breakout followed by an up move, and then it holds here for a bit, and then it pulls back, and then we get a really big move. So as soon as we got this very short-term drop from here and then a very big move up from there, that told me we're getting ready for a really big move to come. And all this was doing was what? This is a one big massive false breakdown. We get back into the major levels of support. The market rallies up, holds for a bit, comes down, and then moves back to the upside from there. So this is a really, you see this a lot on a lot of different markets from here. You saw this even if I go back and have a look at, say, we saw it from the euro, right? You see this here from a lot of different markets, but let me show you this here. So if I bring this down to here, look what happened here recently, right? So this one here, notice how we actually had support. It breaks down, but look what happened here, right? We didn't hold, did we? Well, sorry, we didn't continue down. So we had support level through here, support level through here. We had a breakdown, and then we did nothing, right? Then what happened? Really big move to come. So if you ever get support, and we break down, but then we get back up and we do that, we're probably likely to start to see something like that. There's some really, really, really big moves to come. And this here is more like a V bottom or a bottoming pattern before we see a really big move. And this is what happened all through here. So this is what's called the false breakdown. And keep an eye on the real big. If we have major level support and we do break down, but the market says no, meaning you can see what happened here, right? When the market says no, meaning we actually had this move through here, and then we started to get back above it. What was happening here? then we start to see this overall big move up. And this here was just a major final bottom. It was a false breakdown. This one here was not exactly a V bottom, but then this market here is this setup here. It creates like a slingshot pattern, right? It's like a bit of a pullback, and then we slingshot back to the upside. Pullback, slingshot, move back to the upside from there. So this is the pattern here, guys. Keep an eye out for me. And this is also very, 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 very good at picking bottoms in the markets as well too. So if we go have a look at, let me show you this level here. I saw this also happen on Meta back in the day. Now let me show you here with Meta, right? Meta did the exact same thing. Let me see if I can get my data to show you here. And there we go there, right? So look what happened here with Meta. Meta actually did the same thing. So notice how we actually had what? Notice how we actually had, there was a lot of, see there was a lot of support level through there. And maybe just a bit higher through there. See how there was actually, if I bring this up through to here, notice how there was in the past, that whole resistance, that was a major support, major support. Notice this has been coming down, coming down, coming down. And look what happened here, right? We flushed down past all these major level support, but look what happened. Not only did we flush down, but we came straight back up again, didn't we? V bottom action. And especially when we're breaking past support level, when we get back above it, that creates the V bottom from there. And then we end up getting what? A very big slingshot move from there. So just keep an eye for this, guys. This is a very big pattern here, and that can, if you're looking for even some good buying opportunities, even some good trading opportunities, the market can do this, okay? Just because it flushes down past support, keep an eye on that it may be one of these false breakdowns into, say, a V bottom, and then the V bottom ends up turning into what's called a slingshot move back to the upside. So now, traders, one thing I want to share with you is I want to share with you a simple but powerful pattern that has a high probability when it does confirm, that has an explosive move in the markets from here. Now, let me show you what I mean here. So if I bring up my, one thing I noticed here is this is a PowerPoint here, okay? One thing I've noticed time and time again, these are what's called the channel trades in the markets here, okay? Channel trades. And so if I look at this level from here, one thing I've noticed here is this, and I've got this level from here, right? These are weekly charts here, and here's a weekly chart as well too, right? One thing you'll notice here, look at this here. Notice how the market went sideways for a long extended period of sideways. This is for like maybe 1 or 2 years of a weekly chart. But look what happened here. If we ever do go sideways through here, when we do break, look what happens. It goes for what? It goes for a big move down, doesn't it? Big move down. If we have a look at this one here, sideways, this was sideways for maybe like even 1 year, right? And then when we do break, we end up going for a big move down. This also works for the bullish side as well too. But there's a lot of examples here, sideways. So as you can see, we're looking at, and I'm looking at the weekly chart because it's not just the weekly. I found that if we can get like a real good sideways movement for especially a couple of years, when we do break, we end up going for big moves pretty quickly, right? There's one there as well too. Here's another example here. Notice this one here was about 1 year worth of sideways on this weekly chart. But when we started the break, we go for a really big move. Again, this is weekly charts from here, right? And we continue to go through all of these examples from here to here to here. So this is what's called, you know, the bearish examples here. But I could show you, this is weekly charts here, but I even could show you things like this level here, right? This is exactly what happened with Bitcoin recently. This is on a 1 hour chart. This is actually just, as I'm doing this session for you today, this is where Bitcoin was at the time. But look at this here. See how we just went sideways for this time? When we got the breakout, we actually went for a really, really big move to come, right? And we can see this level from here. And we, if I show you some more examples from here, right? So here's another example here. Notice how the market just went sideways, and then when we got a big break, we end up going through the big move on the downside. So looking at this level here, look at this here. So channel, there was a bit of a sideways movement here. Now this is just the Nasdaq chart. I'm trying to show you all different examples here, but I'm trying to show you that no matter what market you're looking at, whenever we do get these sideways periods, whenever we do get a break, we get a big move. Look at this here. Long extended period of sideways movement. I call it a channel trade. Whenever we do get the breakout, we typically go for a nice move to come from there, right? And there's a lot of good, you know, bearish examples from here, right? And also there's a lot of good bullish examples. Like look at this here. See, this is now a 1 minute chart. And then there's daily charts, right? Sideways, and we'd get a big breakout from there. And then we have a nice big move to the upside from there. And this actually works so well, right? This is a chart back here in 2007, right? 2007, and same thing, sideways. So whenever we get this channel and then we get a big breakout, we typically go for a big move. And the reason why I like that is because if we go through these, here's an example here. Look at that there. Look, see that channel? It just went sideways, right? And then when we did start to get the breakout, we have a bit of a sideways period here, but then we break, and then it goes for a big move. See that through there? So the reason why I like this level here is because whenever I'm trading options on this hill, on this here, and I look at this here. This is an example of a stock, but going back to 2003. See how we're just going sideways all through here? Look what happened. Sideways. This was 1, 2, 3. There's only about 3-4 months of sideways, but when we did break, we actually went for a really nice move, right? Again, for trading opportunities from here. And so we can see it through there. And if I go to some of the trades that I've taken just recently, it's been off the back of that one thing from there. And that has been like my platinum trade, right? If I go to my platinum trade from here, why did platinum have such a big move? Notice this level from here. That was the support level from there, right? And then we had this level from here, didn't we? See how the sideways? Look at this here. Look at this here. So this was 2021, 1, 2, 3, 4 years of sideways. And then look what happened. As soon as we actually did get the breakout, boom. As soon as we did get the breakout, this was actually more like this coming down through here. Right, as soon as we did get the breakout, it actually came up, hit the resistance level, pulled back. Look at this here. When we got the breakout here, look at that extraordinary move from here. Now again, like this is a high probability. This is a pattern that when it confirms, a simple but powerful pattern for explosive moves in the markets. Another trade that I took, GRPN, just recently, as of doing this session for you today. You can see here on GRPN, why did GRPN have a really big, sort of a nice big explosive moves? We can see it, right? We can see it on this chart here. Well, we can see it when the data starts to be nice to me, right? Oh, there we go. There we go, right? Here's the weekly chart. So notice here, we had what? Notice here we had this sideways movement from here. Look at all that sideways. And then we started to get the breakout there. And that breakout here was the daily charts. And as soon as we got the breakout, we end up going for a really nice move to come, right? So as you can see, it doesn't happen straight away. Like this one here took about a week of sideways, but we actually overall within a month, we had a really nice move to the upside. The same thing for Ethereum just recently. The reason why Ethereum, and these are the last 3 trades that I've done, and I'm actually in some trades right now as well too. And as you can see, the reason why Ethereum actually had a really nice move out of this level from here, and the reason why I took this as a trade, right, is because of what? Notice how we had all this. Now, this wasn't a very long extended period of sideways, but notice we still had this very sideways period from here. Whenever we do get these sideways periods, as I was sharing with you a minute ago, whenever we do get these sideways periods, I have found that we get really big explosive moves. And so this is what's called, again, this is what's called channel trades for me, because the channel trades I have found to be quite awesome, right? Quite awesome. So if I bring this up, let me bring this over here. And these are what's called channel trades here. I found that whenever we get this channel and we get some sort of breakout, we typically go for big moves. And this is come under the context of a thing called price and time, right? Whenever the market does sideways for not long, we end up starting to trend and having really big moves, as you can see from this screenshot down the bottom here, from here. And this is an example here, right? Sideways, long, this is what's called time phase. This is a time phase. And then we break out and we go for a really big move. This was a trade that I did at the start of the year as I'm doing this session for you, right? We had this, notice how we had, if you know what happened with Roblox, right? Look at this here, big sideways movement. We had a big breakout. And if you know what happened with Roblox, this is the big breakout. Where's Roblox right now? Let me show you this here. RBLX. Look at this level, right? Look what happened with Roblox. You see what I'm saying here, right? Look what happened. Roblox is now, look at this level. Why is Roblox having such a massive move? well, we had this long, look at this here, many years of sideways movement. We actually had a breakout, came back down, and boom, real big move, explosive moves. And so this is the reason why, guys, like for me personally, I love trading this, because I could be 50-50 right. And when you start to utilize things like options in the markets, right? Options in the markets, you utilize things like leverage in the markets, you can start to do really, really well from here. So this is what's called, again, channel trades. The channel trades for me, here's an example here, right? It's just, the channel trade for me is the number one thing that I love to trade. It's just, I'm looking for it every single day, because even just for my last few trades, right? Platinum, Groupon, these things here, I love trading them because they can produce explosive moves, and I love trading options, right? So if I show you an example here, say for example, like this one here, even just Roblox, right? Roblox here on the first breakout made me 170% return, right? If I show you platinum here, this is the platinum market here, before the sideways before the big breakout. I got on the breakout, I'm out of this one now, but I made 250% return on this one here, right? So really big move. GRPN. See this sideways in the breakout? This one here, again, I'm out of this one now because my system said get out, but I made 300% return on my options. Now, that's not on my entire account, that's on my trade, right? But I'm trying to share with you that if I can get 250%, 300%, and then like the Ethereum trade, like this Ethereum trade here, if I go to this one here, why did Ethereum have such a real big move? Even from a short-term perspective, look at this here. For a few months, it had this sideways movement. So the sideways movement for me is the number one pattern I love to look for, because then we typically have a really good move from that level from there, whether it's a good sideways or we have something through it. Again, and then Ethereum, right? My last few trades here when it comes to that level, my platinum, again, 250% return on the options, right? We had Ethereum, which is just a beautiful, beautiful trade here as well too. I forget exactly what the percent return I actually, I may still be in that because I just bought this one here. So I may actually still be in this one. I've got to just double check from that level from there. But I know from the option perspective, the option perspective from this level from here, I think it was up 150% or more. If you look at my Groupon trade, my GRPN trade that happened in the last few months of doing this session for you, this one here was 300% return. So I will have losses, and I do have losses, but if I can get a 300% return, but then I have a 30-40% loss, you see what I'm saying here, right? Like I could have a 3, 4, 5 loser trades in a row and one win and still be either break even or slightly in profit. So this is how I personally win the game of trading from here, from that perspective from there. Alrighty, traders, well, that's it for me today. I am done and dusted for this video. Traders, once again, if you do need some help, well, one, you can grab access to my free trading course I'm giving away. It's like, I think it's like 7 videos long. There's so many videos in there teaching you mistakes, chart reading techniques, a lot of stuff that I've been talking about today as well too. Also, if you would like to join my inner circle where I'm with you every single week, or you'd like to be part of my 1% club where you're with me every day for at least an hour or two, going through the markets and coaching you and guiding you where you're with me and really, really holding your hand that way when it's come to my 1% club, then there should be that second link in the description there, guys. You can go click on that and you can fill out the application and you'll actually be speaking to me personally. I do all the calls myself. To be personally speaking with you, I'll have a good chat with you and we'll see if I can help you out. Speak to you soon, guys.